My name is Emma. I'm 24 years old, and I live in a small apartment in Queens, New York City. It's morning right now. I'm standing by the window, down on the street. People are rushing to work. No one is looking at anyone. Everyone is busy with their own day. Sometimes I feel like I've always been like that too. Present, but never noticed. This feeling didn't come suddenly. It built slowly, without any one big reason. Because the truth is, our home was never bad. No loud yelling. No big fights. Nothing that would make it seem like something was wrong. Everything was fine. It's just, something was missing, something that never really happened. I don't remember the exact day, but the feeling is still clear. After coming home from school, I used to share things. Small things, what happened in class, who I talked to. And they listened. At least, in the beginning, it felt like they did. Then after a few seconds, their attention would drift somewhere else. Their phone, the TV, or just an empty pause. And I would stop. At first, I would try again. Mom, listen. Dad, just a second. But slowly, I stopped finishing what I was saying. The strange thing is, they never stopped me. They never even said that I talked too much. They didn't say anything at all. And maybe, that said the most. I used to think, maybe I was overthinking. Maybe every home is like this. Maybe asking for attention is wrong. Because technically, they never did anything wrong. Everything was normal. It just never felt like I was their priority. This wasn't one big incident. It was a pattern of small moments. At the dinner table. On weekends. On the phone. Always a slight difference. So slight, that if I told someone, they might say, "You're overthinking." And maybe I really was. But feelings don't go away with logic. Over time, I stopped noticing. Or maybe, I stopped showing it. I spoke less. I asked less. I slowly stopped expecting. Everything on the outside stayed the same. The same house, the same people, the same conversations. Only, I changed a little. I convinced myself that maybe everyone has a different place. And mine is just a little different. I tried to accept it. At least, on the surface. But some things you can ignore. But they don't leave you. They stay somewhere inside. Quiet, but present. And I didn't know until then that this unfinished feeling would come back one day. Just, in a different way this time. That day started like any other. I was getting ready for work. Coffee was brewing. And my phone was on the kitchen counter. Then an unknown number flashed on the screen. I looked at it. And without thinking much, ignored it. Because honestly, unknown calls are usually not important. A few seconds later, it rang again. This time, I picked it up. "Hello, is this Emma?" The voice was steady. Not rushed, not hesitant. I paused slightly. "Yes, speaking." "Hi, I'm calling from a legal office. We've been trying to reach you." A legal office. The moment I heard that, multiple possibilities ran through my mind at once. But in none of them was family. I asked carefully, "Yes, what is this regarding?" The reply came, "It's regarding a family-related document. We need your decision on it." Decision. Hearing that word, I went silent for a few seconds. Because in all these years, no one had asked me for a decision related to family. At least, not like this. Old scenes started flashing in my mind. The dinner table. Half responses. And those moments. When I slowly pulled myself back. I tightened my grip on the phone. "Which document?" The voice remained the same. Calm, professional. "We'll email you the details. You can review it and let us know how you'd like to proceed." That was it. No explanation. No urgency. Just a clear request. I didn't say much. Just a small okay. The call ended. And I stood there for a few seconds. The coffee was still brewing. But my attention was somewhere else. Family-related document. The words were simple, but strangely heavy. I asked myself, why now? But the answer didn't come right away. After a while, I picked up my phone and checked my email. There was a new message. From the same office. The subject line was simple. Document for review. I opened it. There was an attachment. I didn't open it immediately. I just stared at the screen. As if I delayed it a little longer, maybe it wouldn't feel real. But curiosity is always a little stronger. I slowly opened the document. At first glance, it looked like a normal legal file. Formal language. Structured lines. Names. And then, my eyes stopped at one place. My name. And right below it, my parents' names. All three. On the same page. After all these years. It was a small detail. But the impact wasn't small. For a few seconds, I just looked at it. I didn't scroll. Didn't say anything. Just looked. And in that moment, a strange feeling came up. Not complete clarity. Not confusion. Just something in between. As if something that had been far away for a long time suddenly came back in front of me. I didn't close the document. I just let the screen stay open and thought only one thing. This time, I can't ignore it. But that didn't mean I was going to act immediately. I didn't close the laptop. I just left it open, as if holding the decision for a little longer was necessary. I sat down on the chair, and for a few seconds, just stayed silent. The sounds from outside were coming in. Cars, footsteps, distant conversations. Everything was normal. Except inside me, something had shifted slightly. I opened the document again. This time, I started reading it carefully. Line by line. This wasn't some random formality. It was a legal process that had already been in motion. And in that process, there was a point where without my signature, things couldn't be completed. I stopped reading, leaned my head back, and looked at the ceiling. A strange question kept coming to my mind. If I wasn't needed, then why now? The question was simple, but the answer wasn't. Because this wasn't just about the document. It was about the entire pattern that I had been ignoring for years. Or maybe accepting. I clasped my hands together, as if trying to steady myself. And then, another question came. Do I really want to know? Because knowing the truth doesn't just bring answers. Sometimes, it brings back old questions too. I took a slow breath. The screen was still in front of me. The cursor was blinking, as if waiting. But this time, I wasn't in a hurry. Before, I avoided everything uncomfortable. I would either ignore it, or convince myself. But now, I didn't want to take that approach. I said something simple to myself. If this involves me, I need complete clarity. It wasn't a loud decision. Just a quiet shift. I picked up my phone, opened the legal office number. But before calling, I stopped. Because I realized I didn't just want answers from them. I wanted clarity from myself too. I put the phone back down and pulled the laptop closer again. This time, I opened the document once more. And this time, I wasn't just reading. I was understanding. Every line, every word, even the silence between them. Slowly, the picture started becoming clearer. This wasn't urgent. It was planned, structured, and my entry into it was at the final step. That realization felt strange, as if I had always been outside the story, and now I was being added only at the end. I closed my eyes for a few seconds, then asked myself, am I going to do the same thing again? Stay quiet, sign it, and move on. Or, this time, will I pause, ask, and understand? The answer didn't come immediately, but one thing was clear. I wasn't the same Emma anymore. I slowly opened my eyes. The screen was still in front of me. And for the first time, I felt like I had a choice. And maybe that was the biggest change of all. I looked at the screen for a few seconds, then slowly closed the laptop. There was no rush to decide right now. But one thing was clear. This time, I wouldn't move forward without understanding. The room was quiet. I got up and walked to the window again. The same street below, the same people. Everything was the same. But inside, something was settling. I picked up my phone. And this time, without overthinking, I dialed the number. It rang. Once. Twice. Then the same voice. Calm. Professional. Hello, this is the legal office. I paused slightly, then said, Hi. I reviewed the document. The reply came immediately. Great. How would you like to proceed? I didn't answer directly. I said what felt necessary now. Before I decide anything, I need to understand everything clearly. There was a brief silence, as if they were processing what I said. Then they replied calmly, Of course. What would you like to know? I took a deep breath. This moment was small, but new for me, because for the first time, I was asking questions. I asked slowly, What exactly is this document about? And what is my role in it? This time, the answer was more detailed. They began explaining, in formal terms, clear, but controlled, as if everything was being said, but still at a distance. I listened carefully. I didn't interrupt, just absorbed every word. Slowly, the picture became clearer. This wasn't something created suddenly. The process had already been going on, and within that process, some decisions had already been made. Only at the final step was I being involved. I stayed silent for a few seconds. Then a question came to me. If all of this was already decided, why am I being added now? I asked them the same thing. There was a brief silence on the other side. Then they said calmly, Because legally, your acknowledgement is required. That was it. No explanation. No emotion. Just a fact. And that fact said the most. I lowered my head slightly. The phone was still at my ear, but my attention had turned inward. Over the years, I had removed myself from the place where my presence could matter. And now, there was a situation where without me, things couldn't be completed. That realization settled slowly. No excitement. No anger. Just a quiet clarity. The voice came again. Emma, are you still there? I didn't respond immediately. I took a second, then said, Yes, I'm here. And this time, I really was fully present. I wasn't just listening. I was understanding. I asked one final thing. If I don't sign, what happens? This time, the pause was longer. Then they said, Then the process cannot be completed. That was it. A simple line. But its meaning was much bigger. I stayed silent for a few seconds, then replied softly, Okay, I understand. The call ended. I put the phone down and stood there for a while. Now things were clear. Not completely, but enough. And for the first time, I didn't just have information. I had control. But with control came something else. Responsibility. And I didn't yet know that my next step would not just change this situation, but would change many things inside. That night, I didn't rush anything. I didn't open the document, didn't call anyone. I just sat there, by the window, in the same place where all of this had started. The street below had grown quieter. The lights were on, and the city was slowly settling down. But inside me, a different kind of clarity was forming. Before, I used to think, if I asked questions, things might become more complicated. So I stayed quiet. I adjusted. But this time, I didn't want to repeat that mistake. I opened the laptop again. The document was in front of me. This time, I read it without any rush. Every line. Every detail. And this time, I wasn't just reading. I was seeing what my place was in it. And slowly, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a signature. It was a confirmation that I exist. In legal terms. In their story. And in that decision too. After all these years. I paused for a few seconds. Then, I smiled slightly. Not loudly. Just enough to feel it myself. Because the irony was simple. Where I had no place for years. Now, without me, it couldn't be completed. I picked up my phone. And this time, without hesitation, I called. The same voice answered. Hello, this is the legal office. I said calmly. Hi. I've made my decision. All right, how would you like to proceed? I took a few seconds. Then said clearly. I'll sign it. There was a brief pause on the other side. Then they asked. Just to confirm, you're comfortable with the terms? I replied. Yes. I understand everything. And this time, it was true. The call ended. I put the phone down. And sat quietly for a while. No dramatic feeling. No regret. Just a steady balance. I looked out the window. The same street. The same people. Everything was the same. But this time, I was different. I was still the same Emma. 24 years old. Same apartment. Same life. But one thing had changed. I no longer felt invisible. Not because someone finally saw me, but because I stopped ignoring myself. And maybe that was the biggest difference. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from others. It comes when you finally start choosing yourself.